Welcome back to Tiny Travelers. If you've ever felt like your family trips are more about managing chaos than making memories, today's episode is for you. We're diving into mindfulness on the road, how to help kids slow down, stay present, and actually enjoy the journey instead of getting overstimulated or impatient. My guest today is someone who truly understands the chaos and beauty of motherhood. Samantha Solinsky is the host of the Running Wine Mom podcast, a mom of two, a high school health and PE teacher, and a big believer in balancing motherhood with movement, mindfulness, and yes, the occasional well deserved glass of wine. She's here today to share simple ways we can help kids and moms be more present while traveling. Welcome to Tiny Travelers, the family vacation podcast where we make traveling with kids easier, smarter, and more fun. I'm Sarah, a travel-loving mom who knows the joys and chaos of exploring with little ones. Each week, we dive into parent-tested strategies, travel hacks, and honest advice on what really works with kids and what doesn't. So buckle up, grab your travel planner, and let's make your next family adventure unforgettable. Pack light, travel happy. Samantha, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, we're so excited to have you. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so my name is Samantha. I am known as the Running Wine Mom. I started the Running Wine Mom platform a little over 2 years ago when I was in the thick of two under two, and I had no idea what I was doing. Being a high school health and phys ed teacher, I've always been very into mindfulness and just trying to be present and teaching others, teenagers, how to do that. And then I realized I need to do this with myself as a parent because a lot of people weren't talking about it. And a lot of people weren't talking about the behind the scenes. They were just posting on social media these perfectly posed, filtered family pictures of, the first 12 weeks or, the toddler years, the terrible twos. And I wanted other moms to feel like what they were going through is normal. And so that's kind of where the Running Wine Mom blossomed. And then I was able to, I was kind of looking for a creative outlet because when you are a mom, it's very important to have that. And that is how my podcast came about. And I just felt the need to interview wonderful mothers like Sarah, who I got to interview.
I was on Samantha's podcast. That was so fun.
Yeah, and just really show other moms that just because you also are a mom doesn't mean that has to define you. There are a lot of people out there, so many moms out there juggling so many different things, and it's okay to feel like you're failing, but know that you are making a difference in not only the world, but in your children's life. So that's kind of about the Running Wine Mom and myself.
That's so lovely. And I love what you said about, seeing things on social media and like perfectly posed photos and all kinds of stuff. And there are so many different pictures of motherhood and like motherhood for everyone is going to look different at different times. And so what you see from your friends even or on social media, your favorite influencers or anything like that, that's not always what like your motherhood is going to look like, what mine is going to look like, probably not even what theirs looks like most of the time, So it's so important, I feel like, to have honest moms in your life sharing with you what it actually is like throughout the course of motherhood. I love that. That's fantastic. Before I get into talking to you about mindfulness and traveling with kids, I have a few questions because I'm a snacker and I am curious. What is your go-to travel snack?
Ooh, our go-to travel snack. Well, my daughter specifically loves the rye chips from the the Chex Mix.
Yes, me too.
Yes,
Oh my gosh, we're simpatico. Perfect.
Yeah, and they're not something that I ever buy at home. Like we don't
No,
have
why
them
would
in
you?
our cabinet. But every time we go away, that is one that we just absolutely love. My son loves bananas, so we always have bananas for him, which I know is we don't cut it up, just pack the banana.
Right.
For myself, I love the RX bars. They're minimal ingredients. I just actually had one. Those we do at home and travel, but I just find that they have a lot of protein in it, minimal ingredients, clean. So those would be probably our top snacks.
Those RX bars are really so good. And if you take it out of the wrapper, have you ever put it in the microwave?
Ooh, no.
Game changer. Yeah, it's
I
so
am
good. It's
I'm
like
gonna
a
have to do
little
that for
brownie.
tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna do that. They also at Aldi have like the dupe of the RX bars. Now, like
Oh,
I do think the RX bars are superior, but these ones, if you want to like save a little money because they are kind of expensive, they're much more reasonable at Aldi. Forget what they're called, but you'll know right away. It's like the same pretty much packaging and everything with just a different name.
oh, good advice. Okay, awesome. So if parents are like brand new to mindfulness, have no idea what it is, what like explain it to me like I was 5 so parents can maybe explain it to their kids if they were
Yeah.
5.
So I think a lot of people, when they think of mindfulness, they think you have to be sitting in this space of like darkness and quietness, and you have to be Zen with candles. And that is not the reality for motherhood at all. So, really,
No.
I mean, for me anyway, I don't know.
I don't know what motherhood that is like, but
um,
no. Mm-mm.
be mindful of someone else's feelings. What you want to be in motherhood, being mindful, is just being aware of what's happening around you. So if your toddler, for example, is having a meltdown and you have the urge to, also melt down with them,
Mhm.
it's just taking, like, sometimes I literally just take a step back and, like, you can close your eyes for a second and just put everything into perspective of like, this will be over soon.
Mhm.
I think a lot of times what happens is especially if you're out in public and your child is having, I'm just going to use the example of meltdowns because I'm in the toddlerhood, phase.
Sure.
And you're like, oh, everyone's judging me. Oh my gosh. And now my feelings are heightened. And recognizing that your feelings are getting heightened alongside of with what's happening outside around you, and allowing yourself to just calm down, and then you're able to face the situation a little bit more calmly, essentially. And something, that's a really easy technique is like the 5 4 3 2 1 technique. Find 5 things around you of a certain color. Find 4 things around you that, you know make noise. It can be anything that you specifically have. I know that there is like a certain technique, but I kind of just count 5 different things
Yeah.
of this, 4 different things, and then by the time you get to one, normally you're able to calm down as well. So that's kind of what my definition of it is in the reality of it, because also I deal with it in the classroom as well. There are
Mhm.
high school students melting down every day, and I can't freak out at every kid that with every
Sure.
kid that has a meltdown. So I found it's literally just taking a step back and recognizing your feelings and being able to get those under control, and then being able to deal with your child at a calmer level.
Cool. So focusing inward, getting yourself together so that you can help your toddler focus inward and get themselves together. I love that. Awesome.
And also, like, your kids are go a lot off of your energy as well. So I found that when you're calmer, they are calmer also.
I heard that. That's for sure. um, so you said, a lot of people think that mindfulness is something that you do in a dark room with candles and maybe incense, and you have to be quiet and zen. So how does mindfulness come in on vacation, and how does it make vacations with kids less stressful?
So, as they say, when you have kids, you're not really vacationing, you're just parenting in another city.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think before you had kids, getting ready for a vacation was stressful. So with kids, it's going to heighten that. Now you're responsible for however many children, you have, plus maybe your husband. I don't know if they if they get themselves together. There's so much planning into it. And again, it's going to go back to that. So many people on social media are posting the perfect beach picture or the flight photo, but what they don't see is the kids throwing stuff on the ground on the flight, or, not crying on the flight and throwing sand at each other, whatever. So first thing of mindfulness when vacationing is to being realistic with your expectations. And that is, people might say, oh, well, that's advice. But in your mind, if you can go back to that, like, let's be realistic about what is happening. Would this happen at home?
Mm-hmm.
Probably. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to happen here. And I think that lowering your expectations with what you want can really be a great way to implement mindfulness. And then if things go better, like you feel
Yay.
like you won. If you set the bar so low, you
If
got to
it
have a
is
win.
underground, it can only
Yeah.
go up from there.
Yeah. And,
Awesome.
again, keeping that energy of calmness around your
Mm-hmm.
kids is going to help them be calm as well.
Okay, awesome. Are there things that parents can, like habits that parents can introduce at home that then you can do while on vacation that will kind of, become a routine or help out with that mindfulness, maybe both at home and then while on vacation?
Yeah, so for me, my husband's schedule is very crazy and I'm with my two young kids a lot. So if I did not have mindfulness, it would be, and we go down the shore. Last summer, I mean, we were down there almost like probably half the summer, but we go back and forth a lot. So I think it's important to have structure with flexibility with your kids. So having the routines of, I know a lot of people get stuck, for example, on sleep and sleep schedules. And when you're on vacation, that a lot of times is going to go out the window. So if you can be mindful that they are not going to sleep the way that they normally do at home,
Hmm.
and you can accept that, because mindfulness is also being, accepting things that you kind of can't control as well. And know that when you get home, you might take a few days, a week to get back on that schedule. But I think the sleep thing is something that's really important, to allow your kids to, when they're at home, not always be in that like blacked out, loud sound machine, perfect temperature room, so that when they are on vacation, they can maybe fall asleep in, the stroller or something.
Hmm.
So that's like a routine that we kind of practice, like around nap time. Sometimes I'll take them for a walk and let them sleep. So this way, when we're at the beach, I'm like, all right, it's nap time. Let's go. I need an hour to read my book.
You're like,
Um,
surprise, change of
yeah.
plans. Sleep right
And
here on the sand.
seriously, like they both nap at the same time in the double bob because of that practice that I had. We just were in Disney using Baby Quip.
Of
And they
course.
had I was like, all right, guys, it's nap time. Get in that stroller. Let's walk around. They fell asleep. My husband and I got to have like some champagne in France while they, and it gives you those
Ooh.
moments. But letting go of control. And that's something, that again, like just practicing that at home. So when you're in the situation that things aren't going perfectly, and maybe they won't nap, and that's okay too. But just letting go of control and practicing that at home is something big, because when you're on vacation, you want everything to really go perfectly.
Yeah.
Probably not. And you can kind of be like, okay, I prepared for this.
It sounds like mindfulness creates a lot of like adaptability skills, maybe for both parents and
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
just focusing on what you can control inside and letting everything else kind of happen as it may, because obviously nobody can control what happens outside
Right.
of themselves. I think that's great.
Yeah.
And honestly, you don't just have to do that for vacations. It's great to be able to regulate yourself at school and at work. They keep telling me to regulate myself at work, and I'm like, how do I do that? I'm just kidding.
You're like,
What does
no,
that
but I
mean?
know, I get it, because it's very much like I can feel it cut, like when you're like, oh my God, there's like a flight delayed, or there's like, and
Hmm.
it's all about, you could sit there and cry and scream and kick your feet, have a tantrum like a toddler would, but Or you could just say, okay, this is what it is, and we're going to work with it. And, just letting go of that control is a really big practice that I think a lot of us, especially as moms, have a hard time doing. And if we can do it at home, we can do it on vacation.
And if you throw a fit at the airport, you'll become one of those viral videos. You'll be on the
Yeah,
no
yeah.
fly list. It'll be a whole
Exactly.
different set of problems.
Yeah.
um, okay, so we talked about kind of mindfulness and what it helps with. Are there any specific techniques? You talked about the five things that you see. Are there other things that you can do in the moment when your kids are having a meltdown or they're overwhelmed, overstimulated? Are there other things that you can do besides, the five things, or what
Yeah.
other things can we do?
So for my kids, what I do is breath work. And I've taught that for, since they were like able to understand anything. And it's just a simple, breathe in through your nose and blow out the birthday candle. Pretend like you're blowing out a birthday candle. Breathe in, smell the flowers, blow out, blow the birthday candle out. And
Hmm.
that's easy for them to understand and regulate their breathing and their breath, which is going to calm their nervous system down, and that's going to calm them down. Sometimes they'll, like my 4-year-old, will be like, I don't want to breathe. I don't want to do that. And I'm like, okay, it's okay. You can just
That
have your
makes me laugh
meltdown.
so hard.
But a lot of times, like my son will just, you can see when he's getting frustrated, and they can concentrate on that. And that's one of the, if you ever have done like a guided meditation, it is to always come back to the breath. And they might not recognize that they're doing that, but it kind of takes all of the craziness in your mind to go to, okay, now I'm focusing on my breath. Now everything is calming down in my body. So that's like a really easy one, is the flowers and the candle one.
I love that. I haven't done that specifically with my kids, but whenever they're hurt or feeling upset or anything, I'm always like, okay, let's take a couple of deep breaths. Like, let's
Mhm.
just reset so that we can, reset our brains and then focus on what we can actually do. Because if you're upset and your nervous system is all wonky, you're going to make bad decisions or no decisions at all. So it's
Right.
so great that you start early. That's awesome.
Yeah. And you don't want to have to do these like long, scripture sayings like, okay, this is what, you just don't have the time for that. So like I say, the simplest thing is breath for getting it back together.
Yeah, I love that. When do you think that we should start teaching our kids mindfulness at home?
I mean, my son is 2, and we talk a lot about that already, but it can be in different phases and stages. You know, with my 2-year-old, again, it might be like, okay, while he's having a meltdown, something that I had actually like read when they were younger about, which we do a lot, is I don't want to say distraction because we don't want to distract, but if they are really having a meltdown about something, okay, is can you find me something green while you're upset? Can you find me something green? And again, my son will be like, no, I can't find something. Okay, how about something red? And then, sometimes he'll go to that, but if he is not going to that, then I say something that's incorrect. And then you can kind of see him go. So I'll say, oh, look at that blue frog right there. I can't believe that's blue. And he will concentrate on the frog and say, no, that's green. So it's like a distraction, asking them simple questions to be mindful of things around them. If
Ooh.
they're like, to kind of go back to the meltdown thing. But with my daughter, who's 4, she actually does yoga classes, and we, put on like kid guided meditation. And I think for the younger kids, the guided meditation is something like really nice to introduce, or books. There's like a Cookie Monster book that we've read to them. And then as they get older, it can be obviously more in depth. But I think a lot of again, to go back to like, if you say someone, that's be mindful in meditation, and you think I have to sit in the dark room without any thoughts, like guided meditation and is really, really helpful. The Calm app I use with my students a lot. With my athletes, I used to use that a lot. And it is more direct to whatever phase they are in. So it's relatable to them, and it kind of gives them that calmness and the visualization, and, for the athletes on the court, to get them prepared for their mindfulness as well. So there's a lot of really good apps out there. Headspace is another one that I use a lot. So I really think as young as you can introduce it, and then you just kind of build on it as they age.
Welcome to Ubby World, where innovative products are designed and created with parents and children in mind. Ubby is a globally recognized brand, committed to creating innovative baby and newborn essentials that are both easy to use and simple, while keeping babies happy and safe. Ubby is widely known for being the first stainless steel diaper pail that offers the convenience of any standard trash bag, breakthrough in the diaper disposal market. Over the years, we've expanded in diapering, bath, on the go, feeding, and more, all while being committed to a more sustainable future. As our assortment expands into must-have categories, we remain focused on offering modern parents stylish, functional, and environmentally conscious baby essentials. That's amazing. That's amazing. And I think, we're saying mindfulness, but really it's like all about emotional regulation.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yes.
and that skill, I mean, how many adults do you know that cannot regulate their emotions? So that
Right.
skill is so, so important, not just on vacations.
Right. But on vacation, you can open something up like the Calm app, which I've had that for, I think, 5 years now. I've had the Calm app, and it's really great, like the sleep stories or something. And, again, it gives to that like visualization of words. And then I've done so many with my athletes. And then even with my kids, there's like Kid Calm, I think it's called, and you can put it on and just like get them to be focused.
That's a good idea, though. If you're on vacation and like you're in a new setting or something, just putting on like a guided meditation so that, all the noises around them they're not focused on that. They're
Right.
really focused on themselves and kind of centering and calming and getting ready for bed. I love that. I'm going to download that right
Yeah.
after this.
And especially if you use it at home a lot, like it gives them like a feeling of, okay, I'm at home now because
Hmm.
we do this every night.
Got it. Like kind of like a little routine. I love that. How do you feel screen time or screens affect mindfulness or like kind of play into it? Do you feel like this is like a loaded question? Do you feel like allowing your kids to have screen time while you're traveling, as a kind of distraction? There's like often long wait times and stuff like that can be an impediment to mindfulness, or do you feel like you have to set firmer boundaries around that? What are your thoughts?
For our family, again, this is no judgment. If you're like a full screen time family and that works for you, that's great. For us personally, we are a low screen time family with tablets. If there is a car ride that we have that's over an hour long, so like anytime we go down the shore, they know that they can watch their tablet, they can watch a movie on their tablet. Same thing with like on airplanes, they can use it there, or like if we're in a hotel room and we need the time like to get ready, like,
Mhm.
to distract them, we
Sure.
definitely use that. I think that because it's not something that is consistently used at home, it's more of like a treat for them.
Mhm.
So it's not like, I don't think it really affects anything, but I do notice like if we're away for an extended period of time towards the ending, it's like, I need my tablet. I need my tablet. And then we have to interject and say, you know what, actually, we're going to give you something to draw with instead. My kids, we go out to dinner like at least once a week. And even at home, no TV, no tablets at the dinner table at all. I don't care if they're melting down in the middle of a fancy restaurant. Like it's just, that's a boundary, because for me growing up, mealtime was such an important family bonding conversational time. And I want my kids to have the same thing. So I think for mealtime, having that strict no tablet TV at home is going to, when you're out on vacation and you're going out to dinner as well, it's not going to be any different because they've never had it before. But like
Mhm.
in the car and stuff like that, it's not really going to affect anything because you're just with your unit, and they don't need to be present. But they do, in my opinion, need to be present at the dinner or lunch or breakfast table, because that's when the conversation and being mindful of what's happening in front of you is important.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I definitely agree with that. It is important to be mindful when you're with the ones you love or,
Mhm.
your friends and that sort of thing. That's kind of what I'm teaching my boys right now is like, when friends come over, you actually have to play with them and talk to
Yeah.
them. And I'm like, that's not my job. I didn't invite them
Yeah.
over. Um, so I love that mindfulness kind of translates to all aspects
Mhm.
of growing up in childhood and family life. So it's not just travel. It's
Right.
fantastic. Um, what are some ways that moms can practice mindfulness in front of their children that can encourage their children to also practice mindfulness?
So something that, again, that my daughter really recognizes is, and this is kind of just like, again, mindfulness, I believe, is way bigger than just meditation.
Right.
But you could meditate with your child, but something like yoga, where you are very present in the moment, you could do like a mommy and me yoga class, or there's plenty of things online that you could do, pop on like a Peloton yoga class. And our kids are watching us all
Hmm.
the time, whether we know it or not. So everything you're doing, it doesn't have to necessarily be with them. But like, for example, with my daughter, she knows that at my gym, I do Pilates, and she likes to come back after kids club and check out the room. And then there's a yoga room there too. And so she really started getting into what's yoga, did you go into this class today, and asking all these questions. And then she started to wanted to do yoga as well. So, just being a good example of that, but also being very like communicating with what is going on inside of you, because we don't want
Hmm.
our kids to think that we are perfect either. So if you are feeling frustrated, or you're feeling upset, like, I believe you shouldn't ever be like, you're making me so mad right now
Hmm.
at a young age. Maybe when
Right.
they're older, maybe when they're
They
older,
really
I
are.
might be like, listen up, you are making me mad right now.
You're
But
bothering me.
at, at a young age, they don't really know what's happening, but you could say like, hey, I'm feeling really frustrated right now. And when you say those words to them and they see how you're reacting to that feeling, the
Hmm.
next time they feel frustrated, they're going to say, hey, mommy was able to say, this is how I'm feeling. And, this is how she acted. She did like a couple breaths. She closed her eyes. Just being like extra with your kids, they're going to really see that and respond to it. But I think naming the feeling that you're feeling, and again, going back to being mindful of the feeling that you're feeling, expressing it, letting your child know that you're not happy all the time. You're not perfect. And then when they feel those things, they will be able to regulate their emotion a little bit better because they saw you do it. So just leading by example is really something that I find is helpful.
Yeah, you know what? I do the same thing with my kids. I'm constantly telling them, mommy and daddy are also human. Like, these are all just human life
What?
things I know it's crazy. We're not robots. We get mad, we get sad, we cry, we're happy. There's lots of different things that happen with lots of different people, and all of those things are totally okay.
Right.
I think, as parents, sometimes we want to just put on like a perfect front for our kids because we don't want to upset them. But like you said, they're constantly watching. They know, they pick up on stuff. So if you're hiding things from them, it's almost even like a little more confusing. So
Yeah.
obviously, you don't have to tell them everything, all about your business, but
Right.
just sharing with them how you're feeling and what's going on in your kind of emotional state is really important. I agree. And also taking care of yourself, showing them that you take care of yourself.
And again, like this does not have to be, everyone thinks self-care is a spa day, is going, I hate getting
No.
my nails done. That is not self-care to me at all. But my kids, understand that I'm going to take time for myself at the gym. Going out with my girlfriends, and my daughter is 4, but she recognizes, oh, you're going to have a girls' night. That's so fun. Because she knows her and
I love that.
I do girls' days, and like,
She sounds like a girl's girl.
she is. She's so fun. And it's I don't I I do feel guilty sometimes, but I constantly have to put myself in check saying
Hmm.
like I don't have to feel guilty about this because I am with them a lot and
A
we are doing
lot.
a lot. I deserve to have time for myself. And guess what? The house isn't going to burn down without me. That's it,
No, and
hopefully,
they deserve to see a really happy mom,
Right.
honestly. Is last-ish question. When you're on the go, and we know that mindfulness isn't just about stillness and all that kind of stuff, what's, something that you can just do like while you're go, go, go? Maybe you're at a theme park or you're running through the airport or something like that. Is there one like mindfulness trick that you can do when things are real hectic and you're just running around and everything's so busy?
Yeah, so I think about this a lot, and so for me personally, I am a big like pre-planner, and obviously not in the sense of like you need to be here at this scheduled time, but just if you, especially for vacation, like if you are going away, know your surroundings so that you can escape to somewhere very quickly if like you, for example, are at a theme park and you're like, this is so overwhelming to me. And you're like, hey, wait, I know that right over here is like this cute little cafe in the park or something. I'm just thinking of Disney because we just went there.
Yeah.
And we can just go kind of, or like this little nook area where I know there's not going to be a lot of people. That's something that I do actually before we go away is like, where are the like spots that nobody is at? So let's go
Hmm.
to one of those spots. That would be my first one and I don't know if a lot of people do that but it does for me really help. Like I know that that's a way to get out of it. But another thing for me, I'm trying to think of what I would do right away is like I I would just like pause and just close my eyes. I mean, obviously not in the middle of the street or anything, but
They're like, Mommy,
just
you're going to get hit by a car.
yeah. Just like taking that, practicing the pause is what I preach to like everyone, that all my students, my kids, and going back to the breath, taking the deep breath, close your eyes, ground yourself, like feel what's going on around you. And once you feel yourself calm down, then you can move again. But know that it's okay to feel overstimulated and it's okay to feel like I feel like everything is going wrong, but the pause is the most important thing. If you have to say, listen, we need to get out of line of this ride and just reset, that's okay. If you're in the airport, unless you are missing your flight, you can rest on the plane, but let's just stop in this gate for a second. Let's put our stuff down. Let's reset ourselves. And that can be something so quickly. Like sometimes when I'm walking my kids to the beach with a million different things in my hands and I'm very overwhelmed, I'll just say, like, you know what? Actually, stop. Everybody stop. I need to take a second.
Hmm.
And then they look at me like I'm a little crazy, but I don't
Sure.
care. Yeah. It might just be like rearranging the way the buckets are in your hands. Like it might be something so little that you don't even realize is like the tipping point of it. But when you stop and you are like, okay, I just need to take this second, 90% of the time, you're going to feel so much better when you keep moving again. And that's why communication is really, really important as well in all of this, with that you and your partner, or if you are by yourself, that you and your kids are really all on the same page of expectations. And having structure with flexibility is something that I will say is one of the most important things that I found through teaching, because I used to be very rigid. And then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? Let's get some structure with flexibility in here. And then I started to be so much happier in the situations, because if something did go wrong, okay, it's not that big a deal. Let's fix it. And then when I came to parenting, we have the same mindset as structure with flexibility.
I like that. I also have a very similar idea, except it's less structury.
That's okay. And if that, listen, some people can live their life with no structure, and I am very jealous, and
We
I wish I
have
could be less
some
structured.
structure. We're just real flexible. Loosey goosey, as
Listen,
we like to call it. We just
that
go
is
with the flow.
wonderful. And that is something else that I do want to stress. What works for me is not going to work for you. What works for you is not going to work with me. And if we as moms especially can stop comparing to what is working for other parents, especially with social media and like mom groups, like, well, this is the right way to do it, and that's the right thing to do it. And there is no rule book for motherhood. Nobody wrote a rule book and said you have to follow it this way. Your situation is different than mine, and what works for me is not going to work for you. So everybody can find their own happiness, and just stop comparing. That's, I guess, my biggest thing. That will make you happier.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Instantly. Just don't compare yourself to anybody else. This has been so insightful, Samantha. I loved it. Where can parents find you and learn more about your work?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and TikTok at the Running Wine Mom _. My podcast is The Running Wine Mom, and my website is therunningwinemom.com. So,
is it The Running Wine Mom?
Yeah, and Substack. I just started that too. Guess what it is? The Running Wine Mom.
Oh,
Everywhere.
perfect. That should be very easy to remember. Yeah. Awesome.
Yes.
All right. And to everyone tuning in, if today's episode gave you even one idea to make traveling with kids a little calmer, a little smoother, and a little more fun, send it to another parent who could use a moment of peace on their next trip. And because we know that traveling with little ones means juggling logistics, routines, and sometimes meltdowns, we've got a special treat for our tiny travelers community. Instead of packing everything and the kitchen sink, rent exactly what you need when you arrive, from premium strollers and travel cribs to sound machines and even wagons for long days out. Use code TINYTRAVELERS at checkout to save $20 off a $100 baby clip rental, so you can pack light, stress less, and focus on making travel memories that matter. Until next time, wishing you deep breaths, smooth flights, and happy travels. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Tiny Travelers. I hope today's episode gave you the inspiration and practical tips to make your next family adventure easier, stress-free, and more fun. If you loved today's episode, head over to the show notes for promo codes and exclusive resources to help you plan unforgettable trips with your little ones. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Happy travels, and I'll see you next time.